I found out my best friend was my biological brother. But what happened next will shock you. I always thought I knew who I was. I knew where I came from, who my family was, and who my friends were. But everything I believed to be true came crashing down the day I found out my best friend was actually my biological brother. The shock of the revelation wasn't even the worst part. It was what happened afterward that completely tore my world apart. And trust me, this is a story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Let me start by telling you a little bit about myself. I've always been the quiet, reserved type. I have a few close friends, but I've never been the life of the party. Growing up, I always kept to myself, focused on my studies, and worked part-time to save up for whatever I needed. But the one thing I could always count on was my best friend, Ryan. We met in high school and clicked immediately. Ryan was the opposite of me, outgoing, popular, always surrounded by people, but for some reason, he always stuck by me. It was Ryan who helped me through the rough patches in life, whether it was school stress, personal issues, or even my awkward moments trying to talk to girls. Ryan was always there. He was like the brother I never had. Fast forward to a few months ago. Ryan and I were hanging out, as we usually did, and he casually mentioned something that completely caught me off guard. Hey, I've been thinking I might take a DNA test just for fun. See how much of my ancestry is Italian, Irish, whatever. I laughed and nodded, but something inside me stirred. I never really thought about it before, but I realized I didn't actually know much about his family background. He never really talked about his parents much, just that they were super successful and lived in a nice house on the other side of town. A week later, he came over to my place. We were just chilling when he casually dropped the bombshell. So I took that DNA test, and man, you won't believe this, but it says I'm related to someone close to me, like really close. I blinked, confused. What do you mean? Like your parents or something? No, he said, hesitating. It said I'm related to you. At first I thought he was joking. I laughed because Ryan had a sense of humor, and this sounded like one of his pranks. But his face was serious, like he wasn't kidding at all. You're messing with me, right? I asked, feeling uneasy. Ryan reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and showed me the results. Sure enough, there was a match. My heart dropped. I couldn't process it. How was this even possible? How the hell are we related? I whispered, barely able to get the words out. Ryan just stared at me, his face unreadable. The room felt suffocating. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of what I had just seen. Ryan was sitting there, staring at his phone, waiting for me to say something. But I was in shock. I could barely wrap my head around it. Ryan and I had been best friends for years. How could we possibly be related? Ryan, what the hell is going on? I asked, my voice shaky. Are you saying that you and I were brothers? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he seemed lost in thought, like he wasn't sure how to break the news to me. Finally, he spoke, and his words hit me like a ton of bricks. Yeah, he said quietly. We are. I felt a wave of confusion flood over me. What do you mean? How is this even possible? You've always been... Well, your family's always been... Ryan shook his head. It's a long story, but yeah, we share the same mom. You and I are half-brothers. I sat there, stunned. I didn't know what to say. My brain was trying to process the revelation, but it wasn't adding up. We'd known each other for so long, and never once had I suspected that we shared any family ties. In fact, Ryan's family was always so different from mine. They were wealthy, successful, and seemingly perfect, while my family was just, well, normal. Middle class, hard-working, no real surprises. How did you find out? I asked, still in disbelief. Ryan hesitated for a moment before answering. My mom? She told me when I was younger that I had a brother, but she never said much else. I guess she was afraid I'd ask questions. I had no idea who you were until I got that test, and now it all makes sense. I was still reeling. Ryan and I had been friends for years, and now I was learning that we were actually brothers, half-brothers to be exact. But why hadn't anyone told me about this before? Why was this a secret? Why didn't anyone ever tell me? I asked, my voice rising in frustration. Why did I have to find out like this? Ryan looked down, clearly uncomfortable. I don't know. My mom was complicated. She didn't want anyone to know. She probably thought it was easier to keep things quiet. I don't know why she didn't tell you. My head was spinning. I didn't know what to think anymore. This wasn't just some random fact I could brush off. It was my life being turned upside down. But what now? I asked, still trying to make sense of everything. What does this mean for us? Ryan leaned back in his chair, his eyes avoiding mine. I'm not sure, he said quietly. But I guess it changes everything, doesn't it? The weight of the conversation hung in the air like a thick fog, and neither of us knew how to move forward. I had never imagined this day would come, learning that the guy I thought was just my best friend was actually my half-brother. The whole thing felt like a bad dream. Make sure to like the video and subscribe so you never miss more shocking and real stories like this one. Ryan and I sat there in silence for a while, neither of us saying much. He was still processing it, and so was I. But deep down, I knew I needed answers. I couldn't just let this slip by without understanding why everything had been kept from me. Ryan, I said, my voice steady now. I need to know everything. How could you not tell me about this? I mean, we've been through so much together. How could this be a secret? Ryan looked at me, his face etched with guilt. I never knew how to bring it up. It wasn't easy. My mom, she had her reasons, I guess. It wasn't like we were avoiding you, but it was complicated. She didn't want me to reach out to you because she thought it would make things more complicated. And frankly, I didn't know what I'd do if you knew. What if you didn't want me around? I shook my head, feeling a mix of emotions. But we were best friends. We were like brothers already. I would have welcomed you in. You didn't have to hide it from me. Ryan let out a heavy sigh. I know, and I'm sorry. I really am. But it wasn't just me. My mom had her reasons for keeping it a secret. She thought it was better this way. I was confused, but my mind was already racing ahead. I needed more than just vague answers. But why didn't she ever tell me? Was I supposed to never know? How long has she known about this? Ryan hesitated, looking like he was struggling with something. I don't know how long she knew, he admitted. But I know she didn't want me to contact you. She said it would cause too much drama. Drama? I echoed incredulously. This isn't drama, Ryan. This is my life we're talking about. The frustration in my voice was unmistakable, and Ryan seemed to finally realize just how deep the situation ran. I know, man, he said quietly. I know, and I get it. I wish I had told you sooner, I really do. But there was still something that didn't sit right with me. There was something bigger at play here, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the whole story wasn't being told. Ryan, I said, my voice calm but firm, you have to tell me more. I don't get it. I don't understand why this was kept from me. Why your mom thought it was better this way. You can't just leave me hanging. Ryan looked at me, his face full of guilt, and nodded. Okay, there's more to this, but you're not going to like it. Ryan's face was pale now, and I could see that whatever he was about to say was not something he was looking forward to sharing. I leaned in, desperate for answers, because something inside me knew that the situation was more complicated than I had realized. Ryan, whatever it is, just tell me, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I've heard enough vague answers. Just lay it out for me. Ryan took a deep breath, his eyes avoiding mine. I could see the tension in his shoulders, like he was preparing himself for a fight. He looked back at me, his gaze sharp and clear now. It's about our mom, he started slowly, his words measured. She didn't just want to keep me away from you. It's more than that. She had her own reasons for wanting this secret to stay buried. I nodded, urging him to continue. What do you mean by that? Ryan looked down, almost ashamed. She's been hiding things from both of us for years, man, and I don't think you're going to like it when you hear the full story. I felt a knot form in my stomach. Just tell me, Ryan. I'm ready to hear it. Ryan paused for a moment, taking another deep breath, before finally saying, The truth is, our mom didn't just keep me from you because she thought it was best. She kept me from you because she had a plan. She always planned to keep us apart, but the real reason she did it was because she didn't want you to know about the affair she had with my dad. I blinked, not understanding. Your dad? What are you talking about? Ryan's face darkened as he looked at me. My biological dad? He's not the man you think he is. You're not just my half-brother, you're also our brother by blood. And I think you deserve to know what that means. I sat there, my head spinning. What does this all mean? What's going on with our family? Ryan's voice lowered, as if he didn't want to say it, but the words had to come out. Our mom, she's not who she says she is. She's been hiding the truth for years, and I'm afraid I just found out that she's been playing us both. But not in a way either of us expected. I could barely process what Ryan was saying. I felt like the ground beneath me was slipping away. Are you saying that my dad isn't my real father? Ryan nodded grimly. Number. I'm saying that both of our lives have been built on a lie. Our dad was never really your father, and he wasn't my dad either. I couldn't breathe. The room felt like it was closing in on me. Ryan's words hit me like a freight train, and I struggled to process everything. This wasn't just a simple misunderstanding or a small family secret. This was something huge, something that turned everything I thought I knew upside down. Wait, so you're telling me that our dad wasn't my real dad, and you're not even related to him? My voice cracked, and I had to stop for a moment to collect myself. Ryan, this doesn't make sense. Ryan's eyes were filled with guilt, but also something else, regret, shame, maybe even fear. I know, man, I didn't want to tell you like this, but I can't lie to you anymore. You deserve to know the truth. I felt dizzy, like I was falling into a hole with no way out. I couldn't wrap my head around it. My entire life, all the memories I had with my parents, with my so-called dad, felt like they were built on sand. The foundation was crumbling beneath me, and I didn't know how to stop it. Why didn't you tell me before? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Why wait until now? Ryan shifted uncomfortably in his seat, clearly unsure of how to explain it. I didn't know how. I didn't want to hurt you, but my mom, she made sure we stayed away from each other. She didn't want you to find out because she knew it would tear everything apart. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. What do you mean? You mean she's known this whole time? Ryan nodded slowly. She's known for years. I found out recently, and when I saw your DNA test results, it all clicked. We both have the same mom, but not the same dad. She hid the truth from both of us. I could hardly believe it. It felt like a bad dream, like I was in some sick movie where nothing made sense. The more I thought about it, the more everything seemed to fall into place, but in the worst way possible. I can't believe this, I muttered. I don't even know what to say. Ryan reached out as if to comfort me, but I pulled back, too overwhelmed by everything. I don't know what to do with this, man. This changes everything. Ryan sighed deeply. I know it does. I really do. But we can't change the past, Alec. We have to face it now. We have to deal with this together. I was still struggling to understand it all. But how do we deal with this? What now? Ryan ran a hand through his hair. I don't know. I think we have to tell our mom we know. It's the only way to move forward. But even as he said it, something felt off. The truth was ugly, and no matter what I did, I couldn't unhear what he had just told me. The world felt unrecognizable, and I had no idea how to put it all back together. The weight of the truth sat heavy on my chest. Every time I tried to process what Ryan had told me, it felt like my brain short-circuited. This wasn't just about me and Ryan anymore. This was about our family, the people I thought I could trust the most. And now, everything felt like a lie. Ryan was right. I had to confront our mom. I had to face the woman who had kept this secret for so long. But how do you even begin a conversation like that? How do you confront your own mother about a truth that shatters everything? I don't know if I'm ready for this, I said, pacing the room. What do we even say? How do we even start? Ryan looked at me, his face grim. We have to be honest with her. She's the one who kept this from us. We deserve to know why she did it. I nodded, but my stomach twisted in knots. I had never imagined that I'd be in this situation. But here I was, staring down the woman who had raised me, wondering how to even approach the elephant in the room. Okay, I finally said, my voice barely a whisper. We'll confront her. Ryan nodded. Are you ready for this? I didn't know if I was, but what choice did I have? The longer we avoided it, the more the lies would grow. And I wasn't going to let my mom get away with keeping this from us any longer. I walked to the kitchen where our mom was sitting, trying to act calm, even though my heart was pounding in my chest. Ryan followed closely behind me, his presence a silent support. I took a deep breath and sat down across from her, staring at her in silence for a moment. My mind raced, but I couldn't find the words. Finally, my mom looked up from her cup of tea. What's going on? She asked, noticing the tension in the air. Why do you both look so serious? Ryan spoke first, his voice steady. "Mom, we need to talk." Her eyes flicked from Ryan to me, sensing that something was off. "What's wrong?" I could barely find the words, but Ryan pushed me forward. "We know about the secret, Mom," he said, his voice breaking the silence like a gunshot. "We know about the affair. We know about everything." For a moment, my mom didn't say anything. Her face went pale, and she set her tea down slowly, as if bracing herself for what was coming. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I could see the panic in her eyes, the way her body stiffened. "I don't know what you mean," she finally said, her voice strained, almost pleading. "What are you talking about?" I felt a rush of anger flood over me. "You know exactly what we're talking about. Ryan is my brother, our brother. You've kept this from us for so long." Her face crumpled. "I didn't want this to happen," she whispered, almost too quietly to hear. "I never meant for you to find out like this." The words hit me like a slap. "So, what was the plan, Mom? To keep us apart forever? To keep this from me forever?" "I thought it was for the best," she said, her voice trembling. "I never wanted you two to be hurt, but things just spiraled out of control." Ryan and I exchanged a glance, both of us reeling from her admission. "This wasn't just for the best, Mom," Ryan said, his voice sharp now. "You lied to us. You hid the truth from both of us. And now, look where we are." The tension in the room was palpable. I could feel the anger building inside of me, but I also felt a deep sadness. This wasn't the family I thought I had. I was looking at my mother, the woman who had raised me, and realizing that everything I knew was a lie. The silence that followed my words felt suffocating. It was as if the walls of the room were closing in on us, the weight of everything hanging between us like an unspoken truth that nobody wanted to acknowledge. My mom's face was a mixture of regret and fear, but it didn't make me feel any better. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. "Mom," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "How could you do this? How could you keep this from us for so long?" She sat there, her hands folded in her lap, looking smaller than I had ever seen her before. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered, "but I made a mistake, a huge one." Ryan and I exchanged another look. "A mistake?" Ryan repeated, his voice sharp with disbelief. "Mom, this isn't just a mistake. You kept us apart. You kept us from knowing each other. You built our lives on a lie." I could see that my mom was breaking, her eyes filling with tears. She wiped them away quickly, as though trying to hold it together. "I was scared," she said quietly. "I was scared of how you would both react. I didn't want to destroy your relationship with each other. I didn't know how to make it right." I felt a rush of anger. "You thought keeping this a secret was the best option? You thought lying to us for years was better than facing the truth?" Ryan's voice was quieter, but just as intense. "Mom, we're not kids anymore. You can't keep protecting us from the truth. We deserve to know what's really been going on." I could see the guilt in her eyes, but I couldn't bring myself to feel sympathy. She had chosen to hide the truth from us, and now we were left to pick up the pieces. I didn't know how to fix this. I didn't know how to rebuild the trust that had been shattered in a single conversation. "What happens now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "What do we do with all of this?" For a moment, my mom was silent. She wiped her face and took a deep breath. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I know we can't go back to pretending everything is fine." I stood up abruptly, needing to move, needing to breathe. "I don't know if we can move forward from this, Mom," I said, my heart heavy with the weight of her words. "I really don't." Ryan looked at me, his eyes filled with understanding. "Maybe we don't need to fix everything right now. Maybe we just need some space." I nodded, unable to speak. The room felt too small, the air too thick. I needed to get away from all of it. The following days were a blur. I barely spoke to my mom after that conversation. It wasn't that I was trying to avoid her. It was just that I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to act around her anymore, not after everything we had learned. There was a thick tension in the house, like a storm that was just waiting to break. Ryan and I had talked a lot since then, mostly about how we were going to move forward, but neither of us had any clear answers. We were both still in shock, trying to process what our mom had admitted to. For the first time in our lives, we felt like strangers to each other, unsure of what the future would look like. That weekend, my dad came home early from his business trip. I had barely slept the night before, and when I saw him walk through the front door, I knew that it was time to tell him. There was no more running from the truth. We couldn't keep pretending like everything was okay. I met him in the living room, my stomach twisted with dread. "Dad, we need to talk," I said, my voice unsteady. He looked at me, concern etched on his face. "What's going on, Alec? You look like you've seen a ghost." Ryan entered the room behind me, his face as grim as mine. We both knew this conversation was long overdue. I could feel the weight of our secret hanging in the air as we sat down across from our father. "Dad, there's something we have to tell you," Ryan started, his voice shaky but determined. "It's about Mom." I watched my dad's expression change, his eyes narrowing in confusion. "What about your mom? Is everything okay?" I hesitated, unsure how to even begin. But Ryan took a deep breath and told him everything, about the affair, about how Mom had kept the truth from us for years, and about the discovery of our shared father. I could see the shock on my dad's face as Ryan spoke, his hands clenched into fists. When Ryan finished, the room was still, like the calm before a storm. My dad sat back in his chair, his face pale. I could see the hurt in his eyes, but there was also something else, anger. His eyes flicked between me and Ryan. This is a lot to process," he said, his voice rough. "I had no idea. I never imagined she'd keep something like this from me. I thought we were a family." I could hear the hurt in his voice, and it cut through me like a knife. I never wanted this to happen. I never wanted to be the one to tear our family apart, but I knew that we couldn't ignore the truth any longer. "I'm sorry, Dad," Ryan said quietly. "But we had to tell you. You deserve to know." I looked at my dad, feeling the weight of everything. "We know this is a lot to handle, but we can't go on pretending like nothing happened." My dad nodded slowly, his face hardening with resolve. "You're right, but I'm not going to let this tear us apart. We'll deal with this as a family, but this isn't something that's gonna go away easily." I felt a strange sense of relief wash over me, but it was mixed with guilt. This wasn't how I wanted things to go, but at least now we had a starting point. It's been a couple of months since everything blew up. Life hasn't gone back to what it once was, but in a way that's okay. The truth is, I've learned a lot during these past few months. I've learned what betrayal looks like, and I've learned that some relationships, no matter how long they've been in your life, are never as solid as you thought. I've been focusing on myself. Finally, I've been going to therapy, working on my own healing. I started going to the gym more regularly, and it's honestly been a great outlet. I've been learning how to take care of myself physically and emotionally. I've reconnected with the people who truly care about me and distanced myself from the toxic ones. It hasn't been easy, but I feel stronger now than I ever have. As for Nicole and Ethan, I don't care about them anymore. They've both tried to reach out, but I've made it very clear that I'm done. Nicole sent me a couple of texts, but I didn't even bother to read them. As for Ethan, I haven't heard from him, but I'm sure he's still trying to salvage whatever's left of his life. And I don't care. They made their choices, and now they're living with the consequences. I've been taking it slow in terms of relationships. After all, I just got out of an 8-year-long one, and I'm not jumping into anything else anytime soon. But I did meet someone recently. Someone who makes me feel seen. Someone who treats me with the respect I deserve. Her name's Emily, and she's kind, patient, and understanding. We've been talking, taking things slow, and I'm starting to believe that maybe I can be happy again. Maybe there's a future out there for me, one where I don't have to carry the weight of the past. Sometimes I still think about the old days, before everything fell apart. I think about the years I spent with Nicole, the memories we made, and the future I thought we had. But then I remind myself that those years were built on lies, and as painful as it is, it's better to face the truth now than to live in denial. I'm no longer angry, but I am wiser. I've learned that not everything is as it seems, and sometimes the people you trust the most can be the ones who hurt you the most. But I'm okay now. I'm stronger, and I'm moving forward. Thank you for reading my story. I know it's been a roller coaster of emotions, but it's a journey I had to go through. If you've ever experienced something similar, or if you're just trying to heal from a betrayal, know that you're not alone. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've overcome challenges in your life. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories like this one. Stay strong and keep moving forward.